Now, the trial within a trial in the Senzo Meyiwa murder case continues today at the Pretoria High Court. The trip made by police on the day that accused number 2, that's Bongani Ntanzi, made his first confession will take center stage today. But just yesterday, Judge Ratha Mokgwahleng had made a ruling allowing the state to make use of the data recorded by the automatic vehicle locator. Now, this will shed some light on the police's movements on the night of Ntanzi's alleged confession at Moroka Police Station. Let's cross now to eNCA reporter Manqoba Mchunu, who joins me now to give us, of course, an update on what's been happening outside, of course, court. And as we start with you, Manqoba, take a look at this trial within a trial. Let's head back to this ruling, first and foremost, by Judge Ratha Mokgwahleng, allowing the state to, of course, make use of a tracker to locate the movements of Bongani Ntanzi.
Well, indeed, Tumelo, this was a ruling that was given yesterday by Judge Ratha Mokgwahleng in relation to that application that was made by the state to lead new evidence or to lead evidence relating to this vehicle tracking system that was on Vusimuzi Mogane's vehicle, the vehicle that he had used on the 18th and 19th of June when he had escorted accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, firstly to the mine where they had to check out an alibi whether he was at work or not on the 18th of June. And this is the very time that we got to hear that Bongani Ntanzi was booked out for over 17 hours by Mogane from the 18th up until the 19th, the early hours of the 19th, around about 2 o'clock in the morning. And this is the morning that he had then made that first confession at the Moroka Police Station. And what was crucial here, of course, is the question as to why was there a detour? Why did police not take Bongani Ntanzi back to his cell after they had gone to the mine? What happened in those 17 hours? And of course, this was a question that was posed by the defense, which insists that this is the time that Bongani Ntanzi had been assaulted and tortured by police into making that particular confession. So it was important for the state to bring in this vehicle report to try and pinpoint exactly the movements of Vusimuzi Mogane on the day in question, where these questions have been raised by the defense. So he argued that it will be in the interest of justice for this particular report to be introduced or to be used as evidence in court to clarify really the question that had been posed by the defense. Perhaps let's take a listen to that judgment that was given in court. Of course, the court agreeing with the state that it will be in the interest of justice and that it will need some clarity as far as some of those allegations are concerned.
This evidence is relevant to this court because it involves, allegedly, through the version of accused number 4, senior officers, colonels, abusing their position and infracting on the constitutional rights of accused number 2 by assaulting him viciously. So that is the relevance of that evidence. Because I will have forensic, scientific evidence of a machine, not a human being. And I'm sure a machine is not biased. I've heard everything, but I've never heard of a biased machine. So, it is relevant. Is it in the interest of justice to allow that evidence to be heard? Is that evidence which Mr. Ngomezulu says I shouldn't hear, is it relevant in this case? On both accounts, I find that it is, and consequently the state is allowed to lead that evidence. Okay.
So, of course, we understand that that evidence was allowed to come out and, or that was allowed by the court. What's come out of it so far?
Well, Tumelo, let's first look at the version of accused number 2 as far as what happened on that day is concerned. So what accused number 2 has told the court is that on that particular day, and this is the 19th of June when his first confession was made at the Moroka police station, he says police had made 2 stops. The first stop in Alberton and the second one in Soweto, where he says he was assaulted and tortured by the police. And he says on the second occasion, and this is in Orlando, at one of the areas next to a dumping site. This is where the investigating officer had then arrived, the lead investigator in this case, Brigadier Bongani Gininda, and he had brought with him a prepared statement which he was then forced to sign. And this, he says, all happened before he went to Moroka police station. But what the vehicle tracking report seems to suggest is that police had made no stops when they took Bongani Ntanzi from Pretoria North, where he had been kept in a cell, up until they reached Moroka police station. In fact, it shows that the police had driven straight there and had made no particular stop. So this contradicts his version of events as far as his, what he says happened on that day, that police had detoured on 2 occasions where he was assaulted and then forced into making that particular confession. But also what was quite crucial, and I think what came out of this particular tracking report, is we got a sense that there were some stops that were made by the police, but all of these stops happened only after Bongani Ntanzi had made that confession and after he had been taken to Phosphorus court, where he was meant to appear. They happened in the afternoon, and this was a stop at Alberton at a petrol station where Mohane says they had been buying snacks at that particular time. But also we got to hear that police went back for the second time at the Moroka police station, and according to Mohane, he says one of the investigators, Sergeant Mabena, had forgotten his memory stick and keys at that police station. So this is something that we got to hear yesterday. He says they had to wait for 2 hours for this particular officer who was in charge of the office where Mabena had left his keys to arrive. But just take a listen to what came out of that evidence.
On the same day at 16 and 53 seconds, that is when I went into the yard of Moroka police station in Mukhalima Street, and I turned off the ignition of the vehicle. And Sergeant Mabena went out of the vehicle to go and look for that particular person who was in the office where he left his keys and the memory card. After a few hours that we waited there, Sergeant Mabena then went in and came back with his keys. We might have waited 2 hours.
Right, of course, as we wrap up, this conversation with you, Manqoba Mchunu, what else is expected to come out today, and what time are proceedings expected to start?
Well, Tumelo, expecting those proceedings to start at 10 o'clock this morning. And of course, we continue with the re-examination of Sergeant Vusumuzi Mohale, who was one of the investigators in the Senzo Meyiwa murder case. And of course, we're expecting to hear more really of the details that come out of that tracking report about the movements of the police on the 19th of June. But of course, we know that the defense wants to take it as back as the 16th of June when Bongani Ntanzi had been arrested. And of course, the big question is around the 17 hours that Bongani Ntanzi had been unaccounted for when he was booked out by Mohale on the 18th of June. So expecting to hear more of that evidence and what this particular tracking report does show as far as the movements are concerned. So proceedings expected to start at 10 o'clock this morning.
All right, we'll leave it there, colleague. Thank you so much for this update. Also context as to what exactly happened inside court yesterday during the trial, within the trial in the Senzo Meyiwa murder case. We'll continue updating you with eNCA reporter Manqoba Mchunu.